What do you make of what Philadelphia has done in terms of the caliber of player that they've been able to develop for the U.S. national team program? Thanks.
Yeah, so if we see all age groups and connect with MNT, I think we have a lot of players from Philly program in every age group, which means that they are doing a good job with their academy and developing players. I think we have current roster two Philly Union players, Jack McLean and Nathan Heriel. Also some of the guys that played before in Philly, so definitely they are doing a great job, like I said, developing the players, and yeah, nothing more than thank them for doing their job.
Thanks, Jonathan. Next up, let's take Stephen Goff from the Washington Post, and then after that, we'll go to Jeff Carlisle from ESPN.
Hey, Marko, thanks for your time. Take us through the process over the next couple weeks. Obviously, you have this camp, and many of these guys won't be able to make the Olympic team because of the numbers. And then you have to consider overage players. So how will you and Greg work over the next few weeks to narrow that difficult list down to 18?
Yeah, obviously we the MNT staff and Olympic staff, we always collaborate closely. We know that basically there is a lot of decisions who's going to be on MNT roster, and that can affect our roster, obviously, and then trying always to make the best possible roster for Olympic team. Yeah, and then now going, like you said, to June camp where with MNT, and then going to Copa America, based on selection of those players, there is kind of domino effect on our roster as well.
It just sounds like a very complicated puzzle that you're going to have to figure out.
Yes, it is complicated, but I would say good complicated. It's good things to think about.
Good. Thanks, Marko.
Yeah.
Thanks, Stephen. Next up, we'll go to Jeff Carlisle from ESPN. And after that, we'll go to Michelle Kaufman from the Miami Herald.
Hi, I was wondering if you could go into a little bit more detail on where things stand with the overage players. I mean, obviously the full national team has some impact on that, but have you identified players? I mean, do you have like a short list? And then as a second question, what's happening with Diego Luna? Why was he not included in this training camp roster?
Yeah. So first of all, on average players, we have a big pool of Olympic age group players, and then we have 3 camps so far. This is the 4th camp, and we want to be sure to evaluate all Olympic age group players, and that will affect like what Olympic age group players. So what overage players will be with us for the Olympic Games. We made decision for this camp to have Walker Zimmerman with us, and we are very happy. So through this process in the last 7-8 months, we defined Walker and central back as a position of need, and with all qualities that Walker has and brings on the table, we are very happy to have him now with us in the camp. And the second thing about Diego, listen, Diego is one of the players that we are considering. He was in consideration for November camp. Unfortunately, he was injured. In March camp, he was with us. Now there are some other guys there that we want to evaluate, and the doors are open for every player. And for Diego not being in June camp, like for any other player that is not in June camp, doesn't mean that they're not going to beat for the Olympic Games. It's still the doors are open for everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Next up, let's go to Michelle Kaufman from the Miami Herald, and then we'll take Paul Tenorio from The Athletic.
Marko, thanks for doing this. Calling from Miami. So I want to ask you about the 2 South Florida players, Benha Kremasky from Inter Miami, and also Aiden Morris, who's a Fort Lauderdale native. If you could just talk about those 2 players and what qualities they bring that bring them to this camp, and especially Benha at such a young age of 19. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, Michelle. Thank you for your question. So if we start with Benha, last year and Benja make a big steps with Inter Miami, and he grew through our youth system, and also he got the opportunity to play for MNT. He had a small setback at the beginning of the season with his injury. We are happy that he's back, and then we can see his impact right away on the field. Benja is important for our roster and important for our team. And also, like, he's the youngest player on our roster with, we believe, with bright future with our USMNT one day. And on Aiden is really improving game after game, and this is his third or fourth season in MLS with a strong impact. Playing for Columbus, that is the champions last year. Now they have their CONCACAF Champions League final, and it's not that Aiden is just part of like starting a lineup. He has game after game a strong impact. And similar, like Benja, very important player for our team now. Yeah, and I would.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's okay.
Oh, you can keep going if you want.
I just want to say to wish him good luck and his club in the final game in CONCACAF Champions League on Saturday.
Thank you.
Right. Thanks, Michelle. Let's go to Paul Tenorio from The Athletic now, and then follow with Charlie Boehm from MLSsoccer.com.
Hey, Marco, how are you, man?
Hi, Paul. I'm great. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm going to keep piling on the same topic about the overage players. I wonder what it's like for you to be involved in conversations with the club teams, not just for overage players, but even for some of your 23s who are important members of their clubs and trying to figure out who will be released, who won't be released. Is there a possibility that some players, some of the bigger name, quote unquote, players from the MNT could do both tournaments, that we could see a name like, Gio Reyna or Tim Weah, guys that we are used to seeing with the men's national team playing in France this summer? Thank you.
Yeah. So for all the players that are in consideration and registered for the Olympic Games, we communicate with the clubs. Either those clubs are based in US or abroad. I think that collaboration is very important because, as we know, Olympic Games are not mandatory for the players to be released, and just that clubs know what's our program, what is our idea, to just kind of educate them with the Olympic Games and our process there, and obviously to learn if players are going to be available. There is possibility for some guys to play both Copa America and Olympic Games. We are working on that. Obviously, we know that's not going to be easy to get the players for that. And I think this is going to be very case by case, player by player. We cannot put them like in the same bracket, all the players, because it's very, 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 like, we know they all play in different clubs have different approaches, and some players had a different load during the season. And for some players would be easier to play both tournaments than for the others. So that's why I'm saying, like, it's case by case.
Thanks, Marco.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul.
Next up, let's go to Charlie Boehm from MLSsoccer.com, and then follow with Sanjay from Backheels.
And Marco, thanks for your time today. In terms of, BJ, just in the previous call talked about the qualities of Walker Zimmerman that led him to be part of your group. I wonder if you could speak a bit more of that, and connecting to that, what you want to bring over from the full senior team, and maybe what you have to adjust with your specific case with tactics and shape and lineups to recognize you have a different player pool.
Yeah. First, talking about Walker, as I said, we identified that would be the position of need for us, where we would like to bring an overage player, and we didn't want to bring any overage player before he's in strong consideration to go to the Olympic Games. We spoke with Walker. I met Walker, and I was very, very happy with his commitment to go to the Olympic Games. Walker is, I used to work with Walker, and I'm very aware of all qualities that he's bringing on the table as a player on and off the field. Like I said, his commitment to play for United States and to go to Olympics is incredible. And we are really, really happy to have Walker with us.
And then also, could you speak on the maybe how you have had, if you have to adjust anything from senior team concepts and tactics to recognize that you're working with different players in the Olympics?
I mean, like, I don't know if I understood well. Like, we have the way we play our tactics with the Olympic team, and obviously every player that is on the field, it's kind of different individual. Every player brings something different, but as Olympic team, we have the way we play, and what we are looking also for the players to adjust the way we play, and we will obviously have to adjust to the players because every player brings different qualities. Like I said, different strength. We want to use strength of those players on the field. But nothing that we're going to change something drastically now comparing what we were doing so far in the last 3 camps.
Thanks, Charlie. Next up, let's take Sanjay from Backfield and then go to Brian Sciaretta from American Soccer Now.
Thanks, Chris, and thanks, Marco, for doing this. You talked a little bit about a few of the center mids. Just wanted to get your thoughts on the competition in general there and how you go about building lineups and even just deciding who gets into the squad. How much are you weighing, the club form versus the performance in the camps to date and in this camp? And do you have an idea of, what your best trio would be in the partnerships you prefer right now in the middle, or how much is still up in the air at center mid? Thank you.
Yeah, so if we speak about any position or any player, I think the process is kind of same. Like, first of all, what we do, evaluate players in their environment, and based on the quality that we see within their environments, that's how they earn a spot to be with us. And then we evaluate those players within our environment, and that's a process. However, it's ongoing process, which if somebody has certain amount of good games, we still have to follow that player to be sure that he still keep progressing. Now, if we talk about purely about our midfielders, yes, I would say it's a very good competition, healthy competition. We have a lot of quality in the middle of the field. Do we have idea of players that we want to bring to the Olympics? We have idea what we want to do with midfielder players, and it's still up to them to earn their spots. So June camp is another opportunity for that.
Thanks, Sanjay. Next up, let's go to Brian.
Thank you very much, Marco, for doing this. Two questions, if I may. The first is basic. 3 years ago during the last Olympics, very late in July, 3 weeks before the start of the tournament, the roster was expanded to 22 people from 18 people, which is what it traditionally was. I know it's still at 18. Has there been any discussions? Have you heard anything about any more potential roster expansion? And then also, I just want to ask you about Damian Downs. He makes his first camp, has had 2 Bundesliga goals. He's never played for the U.S. at any level in a major tournament, major youth tournament. What was your reactions to bringing him in the tournament, and what do you expect from him? Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. So that's actually a great question regarding the roster. We have 18 players that we are bringing 16 field players plus 2 goalkeepers. That's the final roster, and I don't think there's going to be any expansion of the roster. However, we can bring 4 supplementary players, which is we have to have 1 goalkeeper within those 4 players, and after we submit the final roster, we can make changes only in case of injury with those 4 supplementary players. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I think it makes sense. Yeah, I just didn't know if it was going to be what it was 3 years ago, but it doesn't sound like it.
Yes, so there were questions about that, but the last one what we have is that roster is not going to be changed. So it's kind of 18 plus 4 players for the Olympic Games. And then on Damian, since I was a U19 coach, I went to Germany to watch Damian, and actually Damian was in our camp in April 22, I think, with under 20s back then. And since then, I went a few times to watch him in Germany. He was invited several times. The problem with Damian, he was injured. Was very unfortunate to get before to our camp. I was there again like a month ago. I watched him in person, and we are happy to finally have Damon with us, and to just see and learn what we can learn from him.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Brian. Next up, let's take Henry Bushnell from Yahoo Sports. And after that, we'll go to Frank DeLappa from the Boston Globe.
Thanks, Chris. And hey, Marco, appreciate your time. A few minutes ago, you spoke about Walker's commitment and eagerness to be a part of this Olympic group. In conversations with other players, is there a varying, like differing level of eagerness? Like, are there some players who have conveyed to you that they really, really want to go to France, and then others who would maybe rather be with their clubs, get full preseasons, etc.?
Yeah, Henry, I love that question. Actually, very first meeting, opening meeting in October in Phoenix, one of the things that I personally told the players, if there is no commitment, nobody's going to go to the Olympic Games. So it doesn't matter like what's the name behind the player. Like if you're not fully committed to this, and if you don't love to play for United States, it's just like doesn't matter, for at least in my eyes. And I promise you, every player that goes to the Olympic Games will have that eager to represent this country and to give everything he has on the field.
Got it. So have there been some players who have expressed to you that maybe they're not? You obviously don't need to name those players, but are there some players who have expressed no?
I don't want to be political now. I'm telling you, if there is a player that don't do that, he's not going to be with us. So it's like all the players, like we actually have all three camps, great chemistry between the guys. I'm actually very happy the environment that players create, and that healthy competition, like I said, every session, and pushing them each other on the field, but also enjoying time off the field, and that proudness to represent United States. Like we can feel that. It's really great group.
Got it. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Henry. We'll take a couple more here. Let's go to Frank DeLappa from Boston Globe, and then Kyle Bond from Sporting News. Right there, Frank. Well, jump to you then, Kyle. You ready to roll?
Okay, I'm on now. Sorry, I hit the unmute. Hey, Marco, just a question about another one of your younger players, Izmir Bazraktarevic. What does he bring to the team? What's his potential, and what can you say about his chances of making the final roster?
Yeah, Esmir is with Benja, the youngest player on this squad, and we know that Esmir and Benja are two players actually that are eligible for the next cycle of next Olympic cycle as well. We strongly believe in Esmir's potential, and we believe that that Esmir has potential to play for our MNT one day, you know, and so I know that that right now maybe it's not the best time, like with his team, but however, like I said, we strongly believe in Esmir. I work with Esmir for more than 2 years, and since I was, like I said, with U19s, and yeah, we have high beliefs on Esmir in the future.
Great, thanks.
Welcome.
Thanks, Frank. Let's go to Kyle next, and then we'll take Ron Blum from the Associated Press.
Thank you, guys. Marco, appreciate your time very much. Two quick ones here for you. First, how big of a boost was it to have Jalen Neal healthy again? Now, I know that he had an injury earlier in the season, maybe wasn't sure when he would be back, but I know that he's probably going to play a big role for you moving forward. And then the other part here too, we've talked a lot about overage players and the possibilities there, but I wanted to ask you specifically about Alejandro Zadejas and what he could potentially bring to the team, and if you've had any conversations about possibly bringing him in, especially having just finished his club season in a big way.
Yeah. So basically, can you remind me? Second was on Zadejas, and first Jalen Neal. Okay, definitely we're happy to have Jalen with us. So Jalen had the long injury. He was almost like 10 months out. Actually, last time I was with Jalen, it was in Gold Cup last summer with our MNT, and because of injury, he missed October, November, and March camp. And we are happy to see Jalen with this group and how he's going to perform, and to compare him with the other guys. Unfortunately, we are not going to have Maxi Dietz, who got injured this camp. But yeah, sometimes you get something, sometimes you lose something. But like I said, for Jalen, we're happy to have him with us. And on Zendejas, Zendejas is in consideration. Like I said, there's going to be domino effect based on MNT roster, based on players that we want to bring as an Olympic age group players. And at the very beginning, I got one question. It's difficult process to put 16 plus 2 players. It's exercise like every day we are doing that exercise, and there is a lot of things that basically we don't control, and then things that we can control, we have to make sure that we're making best decisions. So I'm happy for Zendejas, the way he finished the season, like you said, and congrats to him.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Next, we'll go to Ron Blum, and we'll take our last 2 or 3 questions here. So we'll go to Ron and then PJ Green from Kansas City.
Hey, Marco, one thing, what is the deadline for you to submit the 18-man roster to FIFA?
Yeah, the July 3rd. Every team has a roster.
And can you make changes only because of injuries after July 3rd?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thanks, Ron. Let's go to PJ Green.
Hey, Coach. Just wanted to get your thoughts on Busio and how instrumental he's been to the team, and just what are your thoughts of Kansas City, and have you been to Kansas City before, and what is your experience with the city?
Yeah. Yeah, Bus is Bus was every camp with us, and Bus delivered on the field very the good level of performances, and also with his team, both him and Testman, we know they have that final playoff game fighting for Serie A. Everything so far with Bus, we are happy. We organized this game in Kansas City because of Bus, so let's see how much people like Bus, so how many people we will have at the stadium. So no pressure for Bus. Yeah.
Awesome. We'll take our last.
I was in Kansas City. I obviously to see facilities, to see the stadium. Kansas City has a great training facilities, great stadium, great fan support, and we hope and we believe that these people will come, and this is kind of send-off game for us to show support for our team. And I know that the whole country will root for us in the Olympic Games, but would be great for the guys to feel that support from the fans, and we believe that we can get that from people in Kansas City.
Awesome. Thanks, PJ. We'll take our last 2. First, let's go to Will Gittins from AS, and then Andrew Jones from the Whole Delivery.
Hey, Marco. Thanks for your time. You mentioned earlier that central defense was a position you were eager to strengthen, bringing in Walter Zimmerman. Do you have any positions or roles in mind for the remaining 2 spots?
Yeah, I think we will have more clarity in next couple of weeks about that. So it's obviously like every camp we evaluate, every week we evaluate, every day we evaluate, and we believe that we can strengthen our team, and especially with Walker. That's going to be a great addition, and where we are going to go with the next 2 spots, definitely, I think after this camp, we will have more clarity on that.
Great. And let's take our last question from Mr. Andrew Jones. Andrew, go ahead.
Appreciate that as always, Chris and Marco. Love the painting in the background right there. Want to ask you first with Patrick Schulte, seeing his whole development, with how it's been instrumental, obviously, to the crew about to play this Champions Cup final. Your thoughts on Patrick Schulte's development and just the whole process after the Japan friendly, with a lot of the Euro players having that gap in between. Will they stay with you? Will they go on a little break before they come back? How's that going to work out?
Yeah, similar to Aiden, it's amazing to see Patrick, how his progression with Columbus Crew from second team to first team and playing the big role. And I wish him again, and this Aiden and the whole club, the good luck in the final game. Yeah, and then Patrick also proved when he was with us that he's a big piece for our team as well. So yeah. And there was second part, sorry.
Second, just on how the schedule's going to go after the friendly with the Euros, having that break in between if they're not on Copa America through injury. Like, how's that going to work out before you have the announcement and reconvene with them?
That's actually a great question, because as we know, like a European Championship are done and there is a break. That is where another piece of our, I can say, a really, really good collaboration with the clubs, where we know what's their off-season program. And because we know that on July 10th, those guys have to get in certain shape. It cannot be the first day of preseason, because we have our first game 2 weeks after that. And it's not just one game. We play 6 games every third day. So it's a big load, and players have to be ready for that. Good thing that a lot of guys in Europe start around June 20th, their preseason with early games. So they should be good. And then some of the guys that start late, actually this camp will help them to have a shorter break, However, we have also to understand that they are all coming from such a long seasons in Europe, and they need a couple of weeks to recover there. But like if you speak now, for example, about Booth and Tessman, we talk about players that had almost 50 games, and last 10, 12 games for them are like a final. And it's not just physical drain, it's also emotional drain for those players, and they need to recover as well to get to the 10th of July fresh, whoever is there, obviously, with their bodies and heads. Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks everybody for joining us this afternoon. We'll have some further availabilities next week as the team gets into camp. And as a reminder, we're playing June 11th in Kansas City versus Japan, last game before the Olympic roster is selected. So thanks for joining. Feel free to reach out if you have questions. Marko, thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate that. All the best.
Thank you.
Please do us a favor, hit that like and that subscribe. Don't forget, we're available on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify.